Welcome to the latest episode of FoodTech Stories. I'm your host, FoodTech marketing expert Megan Thomas. FoodTech Stories features the leaders pioneering new approaches to technology, collaboration, and storytelling in the FoodTech and AgTech space. Food and agriculture are changing, and fresh ideas and leadership are needed to sustainably feed the growing global population. Join us every other week as we talk to a founder, operator, or visionary in food and agriculture. My guest today is Francisco Martin-Rayo, and Francisco is CEO and founder of Helios, an AI platform-based company that predicts disruptions in the agricultural supply chain. Welcome to FoodTech Stories, Francisco.
Thanks so much. It's good to be here.
Wonderful. So what brought you to found Helios?
We are the world's best climate risk platform to predict agricultural disruptions and now prices, which we're really excited about. Price forecasting is up to 5 times better than our competitors. To your original question, I had a weird background. I used to import avocados for a living, and then I ended up in tech and doing these large digital transformations. My co-founder, Eden Janlilar, was a senior AI ML engineer at Google. She'd won the Abby Award. She'd also owned restaurants. We had these kind of weird tech and food backgrounds and really felt that there were these two competing hypotheses happening. One was climate change is just getting so much worse than we ever expected, so much faster. And it's going to wreak havoc. And we're already starting to see that in the agricultural supply chain and the food space. But at the same time, what was happening in technology and artificial intelligence and machine learning and costs of compute and Gen AI, we felt would allow us to build something really unique that could help these procurement leaders get ahead of these disruptions. That was really the ethos behind us starting.
And this is your first venture, is that correct?
No, I wish. I'd done this a lot. My first startup, I started when I was a senior at Penn. It was a company called ViewShare, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It allowed 2 people to watch 2 different channels on the same television at the same time, full screen.
What happened to that endeavor? I'm fascinated.
Oh gosh, I'll give you a little nugget. We read this research that 30% of all divorces had talked about remote contention, which was the fancy way of saying fighting over the remote. And we said, we can fix that. This was in 2002. The ecosystem, things like Kickstarter and stuff, just wasn't there. And so it was actually really difficult to get hardware products to the consumer at scale. And I remember we were looking at like industrial manufacturing in China, and you had to pay $50,000, which at the time was so much money for us to do injection molding and all that. If we started that today, it would be a totally different way. It was really hard to do it at scale and get it into consumers' hands.
Fascinating, but it sounds like it was built off that core insight, that very important problem that you were setting out to solve. You spoke a bit about Helios and the work that you're doing. What is the nugget for Helios in terms of if you could distill it down to just one thing, one problem you were solving, what would it be?
We help you get ahead of the volatility in what we call availability and prices for agricultural commodities.
And what can you tell us about your AI platform?
Oh, it's so cool. There's a bunch of things that make it really cool. We did something that no one had ever done from a climate perspective. We divided the world into 14 million hexagons. Each of those hexagons is like 2.3 kilometers per side. And then we take these daily weather readings for each of those hexagons: temperature, precipitation, cloud cover, humidity. We have it for the last 20 years, and we forecast it out for the next 10 years. Then we built these like individual machine learning models for each of those crops because soy is really different than corn.
What is your target use case or use cases?
Procurement teams. We only work with procurement teams. We love them. It is one of the hardest jobs in the world. If you are in the food procurement category, you are in so much pain right now. It used to be that your job was managing relationships. You would find a really good supplier and you would hope that they wouldn't screw you over on price or quality. That was a lot of the job. And now, even if you have the best supplier in the world, you might not be able to get your blueberries from Poland, your mangoes from Peru, because the weather didn't cooperate. Or even if you did, maybe it's a much worse harvest and now the price is 2x. And then you have to figure out, well, who's eating that margin? We're eating part of it. Our customers are eating part of it. So despite the level of sophistication, the agriculture supply chain is the most sophisticated industry in the world in the sense that you are contracting out a mango in rural Peru 18 months before it harvests. The moment they pick it, it's only got a few days to get to your facility for manufacturing. Anything goes wrong and you don't get your mango, you don't have product on the shelves. And that's your biggest nightmare. Despite how complicated it is, often when we talk to our customers, they really don't have the best tools out there. We're really excited to start to provide that.
And are you selling to large food companies who are using these crops as ingredients, or are you selling to importers or grower, packer, shippers? What can you tell us about that type of company?
All of them. We sell to very large retailers, CPGs, importers, exporters, frozen food folks. We're here for you guys.
And are you focused on the US market, or are you working beyond?
No, we're global. We cover 85 countries. We've got 64 commodities. The last 5 customers we signed up over the last few weeks, 80% of them were outside the United States.
So you're fairly far along in the journey. What year were you founded?
We were founded almost 2 years ago.
So moving quickly. And what is your go-to-market strategy? How do you actually make it happen?
It's a lot of me. I'll go to every conference. Obviously, being able to have conversations with practitioners like you in the space is really helpful. We're always happy to give quotes. It's just reaching out. The last couple of customers have been referrals from our existing customers, which we're really excited for. And we're excited to start building up that team and really do go to market at scale.
Do you find that when you're talking to procurement teams, is there a particular mindset that you're fighting? Are there any best practices that maybe you're challenging?
1,000%. I would say there is understandably a lot of skepticism initially. It says like, what do you mean you could tell me where the price of pineapples is going to be in 9 months, 6 months? How good is it? We backtest all of our models over the last 10 years. You can see on the platform, we're very transparent about it. Where do we get it right? Where do we get it wrong? Which models are much better than others? We really want to be as transparent and honest with our customers. That often helps. We're an AI company. We're really nerdy. When we first launched Commodity Track, the product we have, it's this beautiful user interface and it's a SaaS platform. And I'd say more than 50% of our customers were like, can you just send me an email? Our head of product was like, oh, we have such a beautiful platform. I, as a founder of, obviously you invest so much emotionally. But what our customers wanted was a custom email that talked about the commodities, the prices, the risks, the countries they cared about. We have 106 of these custom emails go out every month that talk only about the things that you care about. People love them. If they want to go on the dashboard, get more information, they can do that. If you just want to look at the report in your email, no problem.
So they really wanted that customized push communication.
It's a great way to put it.
Isn't that interesting? What has surprised you the most so far?
How interconnected the world is. We read about it. You can go to Walmart or Whole Foods or Safeway. It is quite wonderful that you can buy fruits and vegetables, products from all over the world. But one of the things that was really interesting, a couple of years ago, there was a really bad raspberry harvest in the United States. A lot of US buyers went over to Europe and bought up all the excess so they could freeze it and then use it in the products here. And it had this dramatic impact on European raspberry prices. I don't think, at least I didn't as a customer before I started Helios, really understand just how interconnected we are. If you have a really bad harvest for mangoes in Peru, the prices of mangoes in Mexico and India are going to go up. It happens quite quickly. And so there's so much value in being able to predict where these disruptions are before they happen and mitigating that.
There really is that ripple effect in terms of supply.
And it happens so fast, Megan.
Have you found that there are one or two crops that this type of high quality, I don't know if you'd call it just in time data, use whatever language you would use, is most valuable where the volatility is so intense that the solution is disproportionately needed?
Yes. And I think it's commodities that you typically can't store that are much more impacted by the disruptions and the price volatility. And so things like apples, you can broadly store for a while, potatoes as well, but grapes and tomatoes, you're in a lot of pain if you're not able to source those. That's some of the places where we really shine. Our grape forecasting model is 565% better and more accurate than the industry standard. It just goes, I mean, our potato model and our apple model are also a lot better, but not 565%
Right.
better.
Right. So you're focused on, I imagine, on field grown crops. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's interesting because even for greenhouse grown, tomatoes, et cetera, there is the impact that exists for how the disruptions across the broader tomato supply chain is happening. But it's still really helpful to be able to track those prices.
There could be other factors, logistics or energy cost, right? There could be things that impact those as well. Interesting. So any news article you're reading these days, especially in business media, is about AI, right? So it's everywhere. How does your company think about AI and how you talk about AI in a way that's differentiated from all the other guys?
There is so much value in what you call vertical integration. You have something like ChatGPT, which is remarkable, and everybody uses it every day, and we should. But when you're looking at something like agricultural procurement, that's not going to help you at all. You really need that deep vertical integration, knowledge, understanding, expertise of where are the places you're sourcing, what are the things that matter, what are the prices, what are the nuances that you're going to miss in a general model. There's a lot of value there. My other view, I think, is in an industry, I would say, that has so much nuance and requires such a high level of expertise, it's best paired with AI in a way that is not how can we replace some of the work you're doing, but rather how can we augment it and make you that much more powerful at your job. You don't have many 22-year-old buyers that do very well. They'll typically get hosed in the market. It is a very unique market. It punishes errors, the agricultural supply chain market, in a way that other places don't necessarily.
And absolutely, I would imagine the buyers were able to draw upon working knowledge of things that have happened in the past. That time I got burned, or, here's how I've addressed that in the past. But I like the idea of augmentation and the way you're thinking about that. That sounds very wise. That's great.
It's funny that you bring up the historical part. One of the most fun features that we have on the platform, we actually give you the ability to understand how the current season is doing, how the current price is doing versus previous years historically. People will always go like, oh, 2019 was a terrible year. How does it compare to 2019? For each country and each crop, people have certain anchor years. They're like, oh, that was a terrible harvest or a really good one. How does it compare to today's?
Giving people the ability to compare to that anchor year, and it contextualizes it immediately. It makes it relevant to them. So I love that. In terms of interacting with investors, I actually worked as VP of marketing for an ag tech startup, early days in terms of the last 10 years, looking at ag tech as a sector versus SaaS, fintech, climate tech. They follow different paths, and maybe ag is uniquely different in that way and still valuable, but hasn't appeared to have the same economics. How have you found that to be in the conversations you've had with investors or potential investors?
We primarily focus on the AI and procurement space, the commodity intelligence space. We don't sell to farmers. And I think that's been one of the interesting parts. We love our investors. We've been very fortunate. We've raised a ton of institutional capital. Our lead investor for our pre-seed is this wonderful VC out of Chicago called Supply Chain Capital. And they know the space cold. They've been incredible partners in terms of engaging other founders, engaging potential customers. We're able to leverage their incredible networks. I mean, the largest CPGs in the world, the largest retailers in the world, and almost test, showcase new features before we launch them. That's been invaluable. The fact that they really know the industry, have those connections, are willing to help you there. Specifically to your question on ag tech, we don't sell to farmers not because we don't love farmers. It's just the go-to-market is really difficult. If you have a farmer at one end and then you have the customer actually buying the food product at the other, we sell to everybody in between, but not to the bookends. The sales cycles, I have a lot of friends who run ag tech companies. The sales cycles are really hard. Understandably, if you're a farmer, I come pitch you this really great idea. You'll say, that sounds great. Come back the beginning of next season. If you're convinced you're going to do 1 or 2% of your field because your margins are so low. If that works, maybe you'll do 4 to 5% of your field, then maybe 10% of your field. By the time you're ready to say, this is a great idea, let's do 100% of my fields, the company's gone bankrupt. You do need, I think, a different kind of investor to get you through that sales cycle.
Who understands the time horizon, how producers buy. They're conservative, and they have to be. How big is your team?
We have 11 people. We'll grow a little bit this year, next year, but it is pretty remarkable. You just don't need as many people as you used to. We don't hire like junior data scientists as an example, right? Because a lot of that work has been automated. It is a brand new era, I would say.
It really is, and it's changing so quickly. I imagine it's exciting to build a company kind of whole cloth because you can bake that right into how the company is structured. How do you think about culture in your firm?
We're fully remote, which has allowed us to have a truly global team. We have folks in Turkey and Spain and Portugal and obviously the United States and Brazil. We try and meet somewhere once a year. We don't always do that effectively. There's a lot more visa restrictions now than there used to be, which makes it a little harder. Obviously, we have Slack and our huddles and our daily meets. It does feel really integrated. We've let go of people in large parts because of exclusively for performance or culture fits. What's been really interesting for me is that if you have a 100% in person, it's easy to create that culture. If half of the people are in person, half the people are remote, that makes it very difficult to create a culture. If 100% of you are remote, then everybody's on the same page if that works. But it is interesting. Everybody works so hard at Helios. No one is looking over your shoulder to see what hours did you clock? Are you on Slack? You're online, offline. We don't care, right? You have to get the work done. And there's so much work that it happens naturally. It has led to a high performance culture that says, well, we're all going to have to get this done. That's what it is. At the same time, we've tried to create this flexibility where, especially like a big front end push, if you're in front end is one of the toughest jobs out there. You'll have to work crazy hours for a few weeks to get your launch. Take some time after that. Find the time that works for you as long as you're getting your work done. And everybody's on different time zones. And so we all try to meet once in the morning. As long as you're getting your work done, you have that flexibility. And that's worked out really well.
Thanks for sharing that. So when you look to the future, what are you most excited about?
We have a couple of big launches coming. We'll push out thousands of price forecasts across 64 commodities, 85 countries. Pretty remarkable, with custom explanations for where each of them is going. We're really excited about that. It's just continuing to be able to build out more of those forecasts, more of those risks, really hearing from customers. People have started to ask, can we get logistics risk? Absolutely. And the question is, well, what do you mean by logistics risk? How do you track that? Are you looking at the port level? Are you looking at the ship level? What do you really worry about?
What do you think is the one kind of untapped area in the domain you work in that you're eager to dive into?
People deserve much better digital tools. The industry has not done a good job of servicing procurement teams. It was always kind of a relationship-based, network-based, and formal. You can do multi-million-dollar deals over WhatsApp with a thumbs up. Everybody knows each other and people trust each other. But I think that's led to a lack of really cutting-edge tools in the space, which is just not very fair given the stresses that the industry is under. That I'm very excited to see change. One of the things we're talking about is, can we make an analyst available to you via WhatsApp? 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, in the language of your choice. Where the price of pineapples going in Thailand? What do you worry about here? What are you worried about there? People love WhatsApp, right? That's what they end up using.
Fascinating.
You have to meet your customer where they are. Don't say like, I need you to download a big console, or I need you to go onto the dashboard. You want it via WhatsApp? We'll do it via WhatsApp.
Yeah, read this 30-page PDF. It's interesting. I think that when you were speaking about kind of the relationship and the informal nature of communication, even around big deals, you also lose that institutional knowledge. That person leaves, you lose all of the historical data that could help inform future decisions. I've enjoyed our conversation, Francisco. How can people find out more about the work you're doing at Helios?
Google Helios AI. That will be the first thing that shows up. Go to our website. It's just helios.sc for supply chain, helios.sc. Reach out to me. I'm just f@helios.sc.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for the time.
Likewise. Thanks so much, Megan.
Thanks for joining us today on the latest episode of Food Tech Stories. Be sure and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast platform, and keep an eye out for our bi-weekly episodes. I'm your host, Megan Thomas, founder of Ladder 17. Food Tech Stories is edited by TJG Media.